Good morning. Would you please rise in body or spirit to join me in our warm-up hymn today, which is number 116 in your gray hymnal, I'm on my way. And I just want to give you a tiny bit of background information. This song in our hymnal is an African American spiritual, and specifically a map song. It's a song that gave coded directions to safety zones or to the Underground Railroad. Many spirituals contain messages of secret meetings, family ties, warning, and escape. So I'm on my way is believed to be an announcement of an escape attempt and an invitation to join. So again, please rise in body or spirit and join me for I'm on my way, number 116. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. I asked my sister, come and go with me. I asked my sister, come and go with me. I asked my sister, come and go with me. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. Great my way, great God, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. Please be seated.
Good morning. Oh, let's do that again. Good morning. Yes, there you are. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Universalist Fellowship, or ERUUF, as we like to say. My name is Reverend Jacqueline here, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, gender identity, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you here to be in beloved community with us. If you're visiting with us for the first or perhaps even the second time, we invite you to rise in body or spirit so that we might give you an ERUUF welcome. Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That you have chosen to spend your Sunday morning with us. And we invite you directly after our gathering here to the Commons Room, which is a building next door. We have a class called Inquirers for visitors and newcomers, and you can get to learn a little bit more about who we are, as well as ask questions and meet some staff, I don't know what the class is today, but you'll get to find out something about ERUUF. There are 8 of those classes, and they cycle every single week, and they're always interesting. And we also, if you have children with you and you're visiting, we have a religious education program for our children and youth. And after the time for all ages, children will leave for those classes. And if you're visiting with us today, your children are certainly welcome to participate. So we are an early voting site, folks. And early voting begins on, is it October 19th, Sean? 20th. So the 17th, some of you are saying the 17th, and that means Sean's messaging has worked well. So, and what that means is that the Board of Elections will be here on the 17th to set up in our fellowship hall, which means it is off limits to us. We do not want to create any situation that questions the validity of the votes that take place here at ERUUF, right? Amen. So we will not be able to have access to the fellowship hall from the 17th of October until the 5th of November, I believe it is. And so if you have items in the fellowship hall that you need to retrieve, please make an arrangement to meet up with Sean and to figure out how you can get the things that you need to get. And we want to set you up for success with that. So now would be a great time to turn off or down any devices you might have on your person. And today, our vocalist, we are grateful to have Ms. Joan Tillman with us on vocals, with Wendy Looker, and also Reverend Stacy is playing Native American flute for us this morning. Flutes that she has an amazing history of traveling with on journeys with Native American communities throughout the United States. Sometimes many miles long, is that right, Stacy? Yes, so very on journeys of reconciliation, and so she has been gifted with a lot of information and a lot of just wisdom and knowledge from her relationships with those communities. And we are going to be acknowledging Indigenous Peoples Day today, so we hold that in our. So let's all center ourselves into this time and this place. And we give thanks and acknowledge our tech team that's working today, John Fellheim, Michelle Sager, and Jim Van Verth. And I think King Sage is back there as well. And so let's all together take a deep breath in and let it out. And let us begin our worship. We begin this morning's service with a prayer of place as we center the indigenous people of this area and acknowledge their ancestral lands. As we do so, may we who are here also reflect upon the convergence of legacies that have brought each of us to this place in this time.
Hush, this is a holy place, a sacred place, where the visions dwell and where the dreaming began. Someone's God has stepped here, dwelt here, spoken here of life, of death, and of holy things. As we come softly, walk softly, talk softly, be mindful of the dreams.
Hush, this is a holy place, a sacred place where the visions dwell, where the dreaming begins. This is a place where trees and bushes, grasses and ferns, deer and chipmunks, cardinals and bluebirds have lived and died for generations, where the young have been born, cared for, and nurtured, where death has overtaken life, age after age.
Hush, this is a holy place, a sacred place, where the visions dwell and where dreaming begins. This red soil, colonized as North Carolina, is the land where the gods of the Eno, Saponi, Sissipahaw, Shakori, Lumbee, the African slave, and the freed man have lived. Where our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors made promises of love and kindness and broke their promise in deeply disappointing ways. Where dreams turned into nightmares, yet where hope still kindles.
Hush, this is a holy place, a sacred place, where vision dwells, where the dreaming begins. This is a holy ground, made holy by our presence, our love, our struggle. Come, let us come softly, move softly. Let us make a great noise. Let us shout. Let each utterance remind us of the dreams that live and the hope that is this place. We light our chalice this morning, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. May it be a beacon that guides our path to love and truth. And may we be carriers of its light of radical welcome and warmth and wholeness into liberation, into the one circle of life. This morning's first hymn is number 108, My Life Flows On, an endless song. The words will be on your screen, and Wendy Looker will lead us.
Please rise in body or spirit. My life flows on in endless song, above us lamentation. I hear the real, the far-off hymn that hails a new creation. All the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth, no storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love it prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing when tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near? How can I keep from singing to prison cell and dungeon vile? Our thoughts to them are winging, when friends by shame are undefiled. How can I keep from singing? Please turn and greet your neighbor.
Morning, good morning. We have come to the time of the magical microphone vibrations. The time when sonic vibrations ring through the space. We've come to the time for all ages, and I see somebody already on their way down. I invite down our youngest and our mediumest people, and even my friends who might be young at heart. Yes, here they come, here we come, here we come. Uh-oh. Oh, great. Oh, dear. Yes, there's a little bit of water. Oh, good. We've got it. Figuring all the things out. This is part of community, right? When you have to work together to figure pieces out. It's lovely. All right, I see. I'm going to ask people if you can scoot in as much as you're comfortable. I will say I do not bite, but I understand. I am not wearing a mask, but we've got this nice air filter over here. Excellent. So we've got a wonderful story today. And as I see more people coming down, come on down. And I'm going to give everybody a hint that this story is actually inspired by a person, and a person who said a very specific thing. Now, I want you to pay attention and see maybe you can figure out who that person is. And I'm going to tell my smallest people, you might not know. You might be a little too young. I'm even a little bit on the young side for this one. But some of our people out there who might be a little bit on the older side might clue in. So the name of this book is called Desmond Gets Free. And it's about a mouse named Desmond. So let's dive right in. Desmond the mouse lived in the most beautiful meadow in all the land. Are mice big or small? Mm-hmm. You know. Every morning, Desmond woke with the sunrise and would spend the day playing in the meadow. And every evening, Desmond would go to sleep in the middle of that meadow under the beautiful starry sky. One night, though, Desmond awoke when it was still dark out. He tried to roll over to a more comfortable spot, but something wasn't right. Desmond realized that his tail was stuck right to the ground and beginning to throb with pain. He felt behind him, and there was a huge boulder. Now, wait a minute. What's the word boulder mean? Do you know what a boulder? What's a boulder?
It's a giant rock.
It is a giant rock. Very good, very good. A boulder is a giant rock. So this boulder that seemed to have fallen in the middle of the meadow just on his tail. That's what I would say if a boulder fell on my tail. That is definitely what I would say. Desmond pushed on the boulder, he tugged on his tail, and he pushed on the boulder and tugged on his tail, and he pushed and he tugged and he pushed and he tugged. But it was no use. When he was out of breath and had just about given up, he saw a giraffe nearby in the grass. Y'all like looking up at those pictures, don't you? I appreciate it. Good news, he thought. Oh, giraffe, Desmond cried, could you please push the boulder a few inches in the other direction so that I could go free? The giraffe looked at Desmond and laughed the way giraffes do. Silly mouse, said the giraffe, that's no boulder. That's an elephant that's fallen asleep in the middle of the meadow, just on your tail. An elephant? Well, if you could just wake the elephant and ask him to roll over just a few inches in the other direction, I could go free. Well, replied the giraffe, you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie? I find it's best not to get involved in other animals' business. I find it's best to remain neutral in times like these. Do you know what the word neutral means?
No.
What do you think it means? You thinking about it? I think it might be right on the tip of your tongue. You want me to ask somebody else? Okay, but I think you might have it in there. Yeah?
It just means basically you don't take sides.
You don't take sides. That's what it means. Were you thinking something like that?
I don't get it. What?
Well, it means like if two people are arguing, you're like, I'm not going to agree with either of those people. So you're like, I'm going to stay out of it. So, giraffe's trying to remain neutral. Desmond quietly replied, well, I do not appreciate your neutrality. Obviously, because there's a rock, there's an elephant on his tail. So again, Desmond pushed on the elephant and tugged on his tail, and he pushed and he tugged, but it was no use. And just as he was about to run out of breath, again, a gazelle wandered by. Oh, gazelle, he cried, oh, gazelle, it seems that an elephant has fallen asleep just on my tail in the middle of the meadow, and it is stuck and it hurts. I wonder if you could gently wake him and ask him to roll over just a few inches so I might go free. Well, said the gazelle, I see your problem there, but you know what they say about letting sleeping elephants lie. I find it's best to not get involved in the business of other animals. I find it's best to remain neutral in times like these. Desmond replied, almost to himself this time, I do not appreciate your neutrality. So Desmond shouted and called out, and when he was out of breath and he'd just about given up for the last time, he saw another mouse wandering in through the meadow. My name is Nelson. Nelson, this giant elephant has fallen asleep just on my tail in the middle of the meadow. I wonder if you might run over and call out to him in his giant ears and ask him to roll over just a few inches so I could go free. Of course, said Nelson. And Nelson tried it, but it just didn't work. So a little while later, Nelson emerged through the tall grass, and he wasn't alone this time. Nelson had found 3 other mice to help, and each one of them had also brought another 3 friends. So you had a bunch of mice. How many people like mice? I think they're kind of cute,
I don't.
especially if I invite them. The whole group of them ran over to the giant elephant head, and the mice scrambled on each other's shoulders, and then one after the other, they climbed up until they formed a long mouse ladder up the side of the elephant. "Excuse me," Nelson called out into the ear. "It seems you've fallen asleep on my friend's tail." Yes, again, that is how I would feel. "I was wondering if you could just roll over a few inches so he might go free." The giant elephant made a low groan. "Ugh. I'm comfortable just where I am. Go away." Then Nelson had an idea. He whispered to the mice, and then all at once they yelled out together, "Excuse," can you say this with me? Excuse us, ready? "Excuse us." I think you'd hear that. "It seems you've fallen asleep on our friend's tail in the middle of the meadow. Roll over a few inches in the other direction so he can go free." This time, all those voices rang in the elephant's ear, and the elephant said, "I was comfortable where I was, but I'll move over if you just agree to stop making such a racket." The elephant cried out. And then the elephant rolled over just a few inches, and Nelson and the other mice helped each other climb back down, and Desmond was finally free. Desmond and Nelson and all the mouse friends spent the rest of that beautiful day playing in the middle of that meadow. Now, my lovely people out here, does anybody know who this story might be inspired by? What was that? I thought I heard it. And especially Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality." And in that spirit, I'm going to say it is time for us to move forward towards our classes. Wonderful to see you all, and I get to hang out with you today.
So today is a Generosity Sunday, a day when our offering beyond regular pledges goes to a nonprofit organization in the community that's aligned with UU values and working for social justice. Each organization has been recommended by a member of ERUUF, and each recipient creates an opportunity for our community to practice collective generosity beyond our walls. This morning's Generosity Sunday recipient is the Black Farmers Market. And here to share about who they are and their work is co-founder and director, Crystal Taylor. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you today to talk a little bit about the Black Farmers Market and how it came about and what we do and what our struggles are. But I just want to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to come and sit with you today. The service has been beautiful thus far, too. So I'm Crystal Taylor. I'm a fourth-generation farmer from Sampson County, Clinton, North Carolina. And hey, okay. So when I come and speak to people, it's very like cool and calm, kind of like an Oprah vibe. So, you know, feel free to clap, shout out, you know, it's all good. We're all humans. We're all here together celebrating peace and joy and this mission. In 2015, my peers and I, Moses Ochola and Janelle Henry and myself, we started the market. The market was just generally a place where black and brown businesses would come together and sell and recreate and recirculate the dollar in the community and make more awareness and platform for those businesses. Janelle's father mentioned to her, hey, we're the black farmers. You should put farmers in the market. And so we went to go, they went to go meet with some farmers, Mr. Stanley Hughes and Mr. Mark Paylor, and talk to them about why they weren't at the farmers markets in the community. Now, we know we have like several farmers markets in Durham. We went and did our research, and we went and looked, and we didn't see any black farmers in these markets. So we're like, what's up? What happened? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm a generational farmer, so I know that farmers exist in Sampson County. And so we talked to them, heard their stories, and it was very heart-wrenching and disappointing to know that due to systematic racism, due to things that have happened generationally, the farmers have been basically exiled out of these markets. We do have partnerships with other markets in the community. They know who we are, they're advocating and supporting us, but it is not easy for them to be alongside other white farmers because they just don't believe they can grow the same things they can grow. And when they do grow things that is not traditionally grown, they have went to other market managers, complained about it, and just treated them really poorly. And so when we recognized that that was the case, we said, okay, well, we'll make a platform for you. We'll protect you, we'll advocate for you, and we'll make sure there's a voice for you to know and a space for you to come and make money and be substantially, have some kind of sustainability. And so one of the things I want to make sure people understand is that we're not trying to exclude people. We just want to make a space for black and brown farmers because generationally, that has not been the case. Black farming and agriculture is the longest entrepreneurial job of black people since slavery. And so for them not to have fair, equitable resources and space with other farmers, it's just completely not fair and it's not right. And so we created that space to be able to give them opportunity to thrive. Just like my grandparents, they sold off the street. My aunt is here, so she remembers that as a child. And so, yay! So I remember as a little girl going with my grandmother on a route to serve the community that we lived in, to support them with their fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's exactly what's still happening today in 2022. It is we're in. So I can't remember. But that is what's happening to the farmers right now. They're in their little communities, they're serving people and helping them, and that's not enough for them to make ends meet. When we talk to black farmers, they say, we're just doing what we gotta do. And that's not okay in this time with all these opportunities that there have been for black farmers and farmers in general to thrive and succeed. Then we dig deeper. One of my jobs as the Director of Agriculture and Farmer Relations is to find out other opportunities for sustainability for the farmers, grants that they don't know about, and it comes down to just the marginalism of like the lack of education, the lack of awareness, the intention behind the federal government and the agriculture department to not sharing this information to black farmers. The Farm Bill is coming next year, so it's really important that people educate themselves on it because it doesn't just affect farmers, but it affects our whole food system. And so the more people are aware of what's going on and what happens, that helps everybody be able to have equitable food and sustainability. And so, I don't know how much time I have, but I'm going to try to wrap it up. And so I just want you guys to know that we do a lot of great work in the community to try to support the farmers. We just don't have the market, but like I said, we have food hubs that we work with to try to make sure they buy intentionally from the farmers. We just try to push the notion that intentionality is key. I went to go speak at Feeding America's National Conference this year, which I'm really proud about, that we were able to represent that space there and letting them know, like all over the country, there's food hubs. There's 800 and something food hubs over America. And they have to intentionally buy from black and brown farmers for it to work, for everybody to actually make sense. And people are so concerned about the food shortage, food insecurity. If people were intentional about reaching out to black and brown farmers, we wouldn't really have that problem. And so the thing is that we talk to local restaurants, we talk to local pantries, we talk to local churches. Where are you getting your produce from? The reality is that if people are buying bigger from like Forest Produce or big companies, they don't know what they're getting. They don't know what kind of pesticides, they don't know what they're getting. But if you're buying directly from a farmer, it's typically organic. A lot of the black farmers cannot get GAP certified, they can't get organically certified because there's so much criteria in that due to the Farm Bill. And we have to make sure that even though the Farm Bill says these things, these people are growing organic. Like the food that we ate from my grandparents' farm was organic, but they weren't organic certified, you know? And so if we take if we want to take better care of ourselves, our children, and our community, then we have to look at the intention around what we're doing every day, even when it comes to just living in general. And so we have a farmer fund. Our farmers market is not like other farmers markets. It is a vibe, okay? It is a vibe, I'm telling you. Line dancing occurs at the Black Farmers Market. So we have a DJ that plays family-friendly reunion-type cookout music from 1 to 4. It is free. We do have the Durham Senior Center is a great partner. They come down and do bingo. So we have some great prizes that they get to win, and it's a great time for them to come because they're usually on EBT and SNAP, and they'll be able to check in, trade out their money to be able to use that money with the farmers and the vendors. And we also have activities for kids. We have story time too. So that's cool. And then we just have so many different things that we have cooking demos as well to teach the community. One of the things that we found is that the community that we're serving, which is Black and brown people that live in food desert areas, they don't know how to cook the food. They're just going to get food processed from the grocery store, microwaving it and throwing it in. But we're really trying to be intentional about helping people with these high health disparities in Black community to know better and do better. So we're doing cooking demos and everything too. And the last thing I'll say is that we do have a farmer fund that Civic Federal Credit Union helped us start. And that's where a lot of these funds that we get donated go to help support the farmers. We are proud to say that if something happens to one of our farmers, tire breaks, engine, roof falls, we'll be able to give them money out of that farmer fund to support them and just not let them lean on the USDA or the federal government or whoever to support them. So we're every second and fourth Sunday. Second Sundays in Durham, fourth Sundays in Raleigh from 1 to 4. Today we'll be at North Carolina Central University because we had to move in a short distance, but hey, Eagle Pride, okay. I see you back there, Eagle Pride. So on the fourth Sunday, we'll be at the Southeast YMCA in Raleigh. Donations are always welcome, and thank you very much again for having me.
When we pass the plates later in the service.
Patty Krawick, an Anishinaabe and Ukrainian writer from Lac Seul First Nation and co-host of the podcast Medicine for the Resistance, tells this story in her newly released book, Becoming Kin, an Indigenous call to unforgetting the past and reimagining our future. One day, Nanabuzu was walking along the shoreline. He was hungry, and he looked for a way to get food without working too hard. He saw some ducks. He liked roasted duck, so he came up with a plan. Nanabuzu called out to the ducks, "Come over here. I want to sing you a song." The ducks were cautious, but also curious, and they came over. Nanabuzu told them to keep their eyes closed while he sang. "Just listen to the song and the drum," he said, "but keep your eyes closed or the power will be lost." While the birds danced the shut-eye dance, Nanabuzu grabbed one duck and wringing its neck, he threw it into the fire. Nanabuzu kept singing and drumming, and the ducks, with their eyes shut, kept dancing. Nanabuzu soon had 6 ducks roasting in the fire. Eventually, one of the ducks who was still dancing peeked. Maybe she was suspicious, or maybe it was just hard to keep her eyes closed for that long. In any case, she saw what Nanabuzu was doing and called out a warning. The remaining ducks opened their eyes and flew away. Nanabuzu was angry and chased after them. And when he got back to the fire, the ducks he was roasting had burnt, and he wound up with nothing at all. This is a story about a lot of different things, says Patty Krawick. It's about being lazy and trying to get something without working for it. But it's also about our own willingness to keep our eyes closed to what is happening around us, to enjoy the things we have without paying attention to what they might be costing others. Notice marginalized people. Notice the land. Notice the agreements. Notice the names. Notice the absences. Notice the gaps. And now that we have noticed, now that we have opened our eyes from this shut-eye dance, we are rebuilding these relationships and thinking about what it means to be not only a relative, but a good relative to the land and to each other. We are related, and all of our creation stories make that point one way or another. So the question has never been whether we are related, but how we live out these relationships with the land and with other than human relatives, and of course with each other. After Nanabuzu was grown, he set out on a journey to travel the world and meet people, learning and listening, and sometimes getting into trouble along the way. After he came back and told the Creator everything he had seen and learned, the Creator sent him out again, this time with a wolf as a companion. So Nanabuzu saw the world again, but this time he saw it in relation with another. Because that is how we are meant to live, in relationships. We have begun to unravel the history we have been taught, unforgetting our relationships with this place and each other. We are challenging myths that we were told about ourselves and each other, and we are learning the language to transform and confront settler colonialism. But there is no magic bullet, no single book you can read, no one podcast to listen to, no perfect Twitterati to follow, no percentage you can donate, and no amount of time you can spend outside in nature to put things right. We have to build relationships. This is from the writer Patty Krawick.
I invite you to join me for these words of meditation, which are Eagle Poem by Joy Harjo, member of the Muskogee Creek Nation and United States Poet Laureate from 2019 through July of this year. To pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. And know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know except in moments steadily growing and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky, in wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this. And breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagle, rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty. We hold in our hearts this morning Susan Sewell, whose mother, Mary Louise James Sewell, age 93, died peacefully October 2nd at Crowsdale Nursing Home. Her service of remembrance was held this past Friday. We hold in the meditations of our hearts all who are among us celebrating joys and milestones, who are navigating illness or loss, for any in the world who are suffering in war, violence, famine, drought, fire, flood. Let us sit for a moment of silence, opening our hearts. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. So how are you all doing this morning? I heard that last Sunday, Reverend Lisa Garcia Sampson raised the roof off the place. She got everybody really fired up and ready to take some action. I was really excited to find out from both Reverend Garcia Sampson and from Beth Harvat, who ran our UU the Vote postcard campaign, that we here at ERUUF went far beyond our goal of writing and sending 2,000 postcards to encourage people to vote, and have committed to nearly 2,500 postcards, which is wonderful. It's really inspiring to see how effective it is when we join together in community to take on a somewhat small action that can actually make a tremendous difference. The work of bending the arc of the universe ever more toward love, toward justice, is vast and is constantly calling us forward. Last Monday evening, I joined with clergy, an interfaith group of clergy from around the Raleigh and Durham area, along Wade Avenue in Raleigh, to show the commitment of communities of faith to cast votes in our upcoming election in favor of accelerating the critical needs around climate change. Then later that week, I met with leaders from Durham CAN for some planning meetings around important justice organizing work we're doing here in Durham. Listening sessions to find out your thoughts about what our focus needs to be in Durham in the years to come. For those of you who don't know, CAN, which stands for Congregations, Associations, and Neighborhoods, organizes people throughout Durham to address injustices and inequities impacting the citizens of our city. ERUUF was a founding member of Durham CAN nearly 25 years ago. What impacted me most this past week was my meeting with Ketty Telemak, the lead organizer for Durham CAN. Ketty, who was a high school teacher before becoming lead organizer for CAN, shared with me that there are 400 children in the Durham public school system who are currently unhoused. 400 children who don't have a place to live. And there are certainly more homeless children than reflected in these reports because children too young to be enrolled in school aren't part of that count. When Ketty told me this story, I was heartbroken. I thought, where are these children and their families staying? How are they managing life? I began to think about all of the things that any of us who raise children, who have families, might need if we were attempting to navigate life without housing. Equally heartbreaking, if not downright shocking to me, is that Ketty said that Durham has had a plan that was created 10 years ago to address this issue, but no one ever took action on any of the potential solutions to a situation they had foreseen. Now we're in the middle of a serious affordable housing crisis, and these families are in crisis. If this were you and your family facing the reality of being unhoused, what would you do? What might you need to figure out? That's what I've been thinking. Joy Harjo says each human is a complex, contradictory story. Some stories within us have been unfolding for years. Others are trembling with fresh life as they peek above the horizon. Each is a zigzag of emotional design and ancestral architecture. And she says this: all the stories in the earth's mind are connected. Cherokee novelist Thomas King says the truth about stories is that's all we are. And he says once a story is told, it cannot be called back. Once told, it is loose in the world. So you have to be careful with the stories you tell, and you have to watch out for the stories that you are told. These profoundly simple statements speak to who we are and what we care about. Who and what we're willing to fight for is likely because of some story that we know or have learned. It's these stories that drive us to take action. People here wrote postcards to potential voters last week because of the story they heard about the need to take action. When we know someone's story, we more fully appreciate their inherent worth and dignity. Yet it's also not simple enough to know someone's story. Writer Patty Krawek, who is both Anishinaabe and Ukrainian, says, "We are all related. So the question has never been whether we are related, but how we live out these relationships." I believe that in order to cultivate the courage to look more deeply at injustice and to sustain a heart committed to justice and collective liberation, we must not only know each other's stories, but also be willing to be in right relationship with one another. It's important to be in right relationship, to understand what that means, so that our acts of justice are not abstract. So we don't swoop into someone's life full of our own assumptions as though we've arrived to save them and thereby ignore their inherent worth and dignity. Here's something else that happened in the last 2 weeks. The people of a small Black rural community in Warren County celebrated the 40th anniversary of their fight to prevent the state of North Carolina from dumping PCB-contaminated dirt into their landfill. Their action 40 years ago was so significant that Warren County is considered to be the birthplace of the environmental justice movement in the United States. In fact, North Carolina civil rights activist Ben Chavez coined the term environmental racism during those protests. So 2 weeks ago, and 40 years later, EPA Administrator Michael Regan came to Warren County to officially announce the opening of the new federal EPA Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights. Amen. I find these two things especially interesting, or I find two things especially interesting about this. First, it demonstrates how a group of marginalized people fighting against injustice can have a beneficial impact upon us all, even as we might believe that what they need has little or no connection with us. But when we live into our principle that we are each a part of the interdependent web of all existence, we understand that we are always impacted by one another, directly and indirectly. The other interesting thing about this has to do with relationship. EPA Administrator Michael Regan is not only the first Black person to hold this position with EPA, he is a son of North Carolina, born in Goldsboro. Prior to joining the EPA, he was appointed by Governor Roy Cooper as Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. It's probably safe to say that Regan, who is 46, easily came to know the story of the folks in Warren County. And I easily make up that knowing this story made him take action. And so as I stood with clergy along Wade Avenue in Raleigh this past week, I thought about all this and found myself wondering, what stories do I or we here at ERUUF know about environmental injustice right here in Durham? If you take a drive through East Durham, it's quite easily to see what's happening if we were to simply look. Being in relationship is what would allow us to follow the lead of community members about what's most needed. We can follow their lead unless, of course, like the ducks in the Nanabuzu story, we're doing a shut-eye dance. And finally, at least for this moment, because there's so much I could talk to you about. This past week, the United States Supreme Court heard arguments in a case concerning the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which was designed to protect racial minorities from discrimination in voting. A negative decision by the court will result in fewer voter protections across the country and less representation in Congress for communities of color. It will allow politicians to draw and then to enforce even more extreme gerrymanders to prevent voters from having the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. Now, former Attorney General Eric Holder points out this. He says, people should understand that this case will have impacts far beyond just African American citizens in Alabama. And so as we think about our democracy, we need to think about this. Again, when we address the rights in any particular area for the most vulnerable and marginalized, we address all of our rights. When we believe that we are not impacted, we fool ourselves. We simply begin doing the shut-eye dance. Thomas King says, you don't have to pay attention to any of these stories, but help yourself to one if you like. It's yours. Do with it what you will. Cry over it, get angry, forget it, but don't say in the years to come, you would have lived your life differently if only you had heard this story. You have heard it now. And so it's with this in mind, I want to take a pause for a second to have what I'm choosing to call a beloved community family moment, to call us in about something very specific. And I emphasize that I'm calling us in. I'm not calling anybody out, so here it is. We know for sure that the number one reason people say they come to this congregation is because of our great commitment to justice. As a result, the Justice Ministry has a list of almost 300 people, the size of a mid-sized congregation, who say they're interested in doing justice work here. And yet, we have so few people participating. So I'm now calling you, who have signed up as being interested in ERUUF's Justice Ministry, into relationship. As Patty Krawick says, we have to build relationships. I invite us all to be in beloved community by doing the work that's right here in front of us. We don't need to go out and search for it or find it elsewhere. It's right here. We did learn from last year's 2,500 Hours of Love project that many of us are engaged in activities and communities beyond our walls. And I'm really glad to know that. However, so many of you said you're here in this community because you want to put your faith in action through justice work in a faith community. And so I'm calling you into relationship to do just that. Our justice folks would love to hear from you. And while they appreciate your good intentions, the groups of the Justice Ministry are called action groups. Because they're not designed to simply think about justice or to consider justice, but to take action on behalf of justice. Action that might not be comfortable, convenient, or easy, because injustice is never comfortable, convenient, or easy for those impacted by it. There are several things that we could use your help with right now. Our work around climate change, our work around voting and democracy. We also need to take action around reproductive justice rights and our disability justice rights as well. And if you're interested in those latter two, please see me directly. So you don't need to take on changing the world in one big swoop. You only need to, as Bruce Lee says, be like water. In fact, you need only to think of yourself as a single drop of water. A drop that, in relationship with other drops of water, eventually forms an ocean. What's your drop in the bucket on behalf of justice going to be this week? What very simple action might you co-create in community and relationship with other people who are taking simple actions? That's how we end up making a tremendous difference. So I encourage you to begin thinking in this way. There is much to do, my friends. So what causes us to turn away? Some of us are so sensitive to the injustice in the world that we become overwhelmed. I can relate to that. It's too much. So we begin consciously or unconsciously doing a shut-eye dance, or we turn away completely. But it's important that we do the opposite. For instance, when confronting racism, Buddhist teacher Larry Ward says that the way to begin the work of dismantling it, we need to study it and don't look away, which is not what many in our country suggest that we do. They don't even want us to think about it. And quite honestly, to hold a steady gaze into the eye of racism specifically, even though it's something that I experience all the time, to study it, to understand its depths is, quite frankly, a lot. It takes courage to hold our gaze upon things that are hard, things that are difficult, and to not turn away and put on the music and begin the shut-eye dance. But if we maintain a steady gaze, if not physical sight, most certainly through our inner seeing, the seeing that emanates from our heart, the truth of your being, when you can feel in your body a deep knowing of something that is right or something that is wrong. We hold our gaze so that we understand what's really happening, so that we're not deluded into thinking that things are fine just because our corner of the universe is okay. This takes a spirit of commitment, fortitude, a willingness to learn, to be in relationship, and a fierce determination to not give up. But here's the other thing, and I don't want you to leave here without hearing me say this. In order to hold our gaze without looking away requires us to be able to hold both sorrow and joy. Sometimes people turn away because they want a little joy in their lives, and I'm here to say that's perfectly okay. Black joy is a thing. We must still cultivate joy. Joy, delight, gratitude, appreciation, it's what allows us to endure, to go on. Moving back from time to time is an opportunity to take a break, to revive and nourish ourselves so that we can do the work of reimagining the world. Think about it. The very notion of reimagining and bringing about something new in this world is in itself a courageous act. Reimagining justice from injustice, to imagine beyond equity to collective liberation is not an act of whimsy, but the work of courage. To imagine a world and bring it into being. I leave you with these words from Patty Krawiec. She says, so many people are still dancing the shut-eye dance. Talk to the ones whose eyes are still shut. Put books in their hands. Become tiresome. The world is alive in ways we don't understand. The heavens pour out praise, and the trees clap with joy and with the song and a handful of mud. We can make this world new. May it be so, my friends. Amen. Ashe, ashe, ashe. And so each Sunday, we take up an offering as an expression of our generosity in beloved community. And earlier, Crystal shared with us about the important work of the Black Farmers Market. As the greeters come forward this morning to pass the plates, all contributions in excess of regular pledges will be given to the Black Farmers Market as our Generosity Sunday offering. If you do not have cash or checks on hand, we invite you to go to ERUUF.org on your device and hit the Give Now button, then select Generosity Sunday at the drop-down arrow. If you need assistance with this, you can receive help in the office directly after service. And we continue now with the Offertory, sung by Joan Tillman and Wendy Looker.
Doom ba ba, ooh, there's so much to appreciate, even when the world seems out of hand, even when we do not understand, still there's so much. Doom ba ba, doom ba ba, there's so much that is wonderful, even in the temptation to grieve. Let us take a moment just to breathe and recognize there's so much. Doom ba ba, doom ba ba, there's so much to be grateful for, even in the midst of loss and change. There's a chance that something new begins, and don't you want that so much? I know we need it so much, so much.
We give thanks this morning for the gift of music and all of the gifts that we create and give together in beloved community. And so now we will sing together our last hymn, and Wendy and Joan will both lead us. It's number 1074, Turn the World Around. That's in the teal hymnal if you want the music.
Please rise in body or spirit and join us in 1074, Turn the World Around.
We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around.
We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do you know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Whoa, so is life abatewa. So life.
Water makes the river, river wash the mountain, fire make the sunlight turn the world around.
Heart is of the river, body is the mountain, spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the spirit, truly of the spirit, only can the spirit turn the world around. Whoa, so is life apatewa, so is life. Whoa, so is life apatewa, so is life. Whoa, so is life apatewa, so is life. Whoa, so is life apatewa, so is life.
Amen. So before I give my closing words, I was told that people are asking for the address for the Black Farmers Market today. It is on Central's campus at 705 East Lawson on Central's campus. And that's it. And you know, Crystal will be outside, I believe, after service, so you can get a chance to talk with her. So our closing words are from the poet laureate Jo Harjo, one of my favorite of her pieces. And she writes, "Remember the sky you were born under, know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon, know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn, that it is the strongest point of time. And the giving away tonight. Remember your birth. How your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember that you are all people, and all people are you. Remember you are this universe. And this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance, the real dance that language is, that life is. Remember. Go in peace, my friends. Go in love. Ashe.
So is life. Whoa, so is life. So is life. Whoa, so is life. So is life. Whoa.